Hi guys, so today I wanted to film a little video about anxiety and IBS. For me they go completely hand in hand. It's a continuous kind of cycle. If I have IBS, I have anxiety. If I have anxiety, I have IBS. But I thought I'd kind of share my story, any tips that I have, kind of just what it feels like to have both, which I do. I never really thought that I had anxiety, or at least what I thought I had, I wouldn't have given it that term. I'm a natural born warrior. I say this quite a lot because it's very true. I come from a family of warriors, so if I'm in a situation and I don't feel like I'm in control of it, or if my stomach starts to feel, I can start feeling the churning going and the gurgling starts, then my immediate reaction is to panic, as I imagine is probably most people's if you're in a situation that you can't really, do your business in. And when that first feeling starts to come over me, my anxiety kind of really takes control of my body, and it's definitely it's a tough battle, and one that I think I'm continually trying to fight but never sure that I am. So when I do manage to get on top of my anxiety, for me it's the best feeling in the world. So I thought I'd tell you about the first time that I really noticed that I was having an anxiety attack, because I imagine I have, well actually I know that I've had many more in the past now that I kind of know what anxiety attack is, and I know that I've experienced it before in some really horrible situations. But the first time I noticed was actually a couple of months ago. And it happened to me at work. So I had clearly eaten something that my stomach didn't like. I was quite stressed, quite busy, under quite a lot of pressure at the time. And I could feel my heart had really started pounding quite strongly, and I could really feel like the intense beating. And then I kind of had this real kind of creeping sense of fear and urgency and kind of like a blind panic. I could feel it literally rising like from my toes to my head, and then I kind of started to feel a bit woozy. A really weird sense of something was coming over me, and I knew that I couldn't control it. I was kind of losing it. It's kind of one of those surreal moments where you know that you're there and you're in that situation, yet kind of you're on your own in your own little bubble, like nothing anybody else said was kind of really registering. And as that feeling kind of swept over me, because I didn't know what it was, that made me panic even more. And I said to my colleague, I said, I don't feel right, I don't know what's wrong with me, but everything's feeling a bit too much. So I knew that staring at a screen wasn't gonna kind of help me, so I kind of nipped to the loo, locked myself in a cubicle and tried to like do some deep breaths, calm myself down. And then obviously, the IBS situation happened, had a really bad flare-up, which just adds to it. And then I'm in this kind of weird, kind of panicked sense of self where I know that what I really want to do is go home. But for me to go home from work, it's like an hour-and-a-half commute on a train that doesn't have a toilet. So I can't leave the situation I'm in, because the one that I'd potentially be going into could just deal me a whole other world of pain. Which then obviously makes me worry even more, right? Because I don't want to be at work while, my body's doing its thing. I've got an upset stomach and all of the cramps and all of the other kind of shebang that goes with it. But at the same time, I can't go home because, I can't get on a train for that amount of time and without a toilet, not knowing how my stomach's going to be. Because if I need to go urgently, what am I going to do in that situation? So all of that, as you can imagine, is making my head pound and pound, and in that particular instance it all got too much. I had to say to my boss I needed to go home because I wasn't feeling very well, and I left. And it wasn't until I was outside sitting down at Clapham Junction waiting 20 minutes for my train, and I called my mum and I said, I don't know what's wrong with me, like this is happening. And I was like, it's okay, breathe, keep breathing normally, kind of to lower your heartbeat and all of the tension. Just relax, like let's talk it through, you're okay. And I think it was at that time that I realised that, yeah, do you know what, I do have anxiety, and my anxiety does flare up if I'm stressed, as does my IBS, and vice versa. If my IBS is really weird, then I'll be really anxious about it happening in a situation where I'm not in instant, vicinity of a toilet. And that's where I kind of really had felt it for the first time, or could put a name to it and knew that, yeah, that was an anxiety attack. It was a complete panic attack in that situation. That situation actually really scared me a lot because I couldn't control it, and I like being in control. And when you have IBS, the feeling of when you're in control versus when you're not it's quite a massive one, and I think it's definitely a struggle and a battle for everyone who I imagine has IBS has to face. And I know I shouldn't, but for me, I see anxiety as kind of a weakness. Like, I can't control that part of me very well, and I know when I'm having an anxiety attack now, and it's taken me quite a while to get there, but I really struggle with it. And I kind of hadn't really heard many other people talking about anxiety before, like not openly, and definitely not with me. And I feel like with anxiety and, kind of all of the other mental health disorders that are out there, there's kind of a stigma around it. But I actually really like talking about things like that. And I like knowing more about the brain and why we have these feelings and all of that. So I kind of really felt it key to kind of tell my story, and I blogged about my anxiety, and I had such a lovely response, actually, as I have with kind of my IBS related videos and some of my more IBS related posts, because it isn't something that's spoken about on a daily basis. IBS affects so many people, it's insane that we don't talk about it. And I remember when I met Sam, the champion of the gut health empire, and we spoke about it, and I said, you know what, I suffer from really bad anxiety attacks with my IBS, but I didn't really think that's what it was. And she said to me, do you know what, yeah, I have too. And for the first time, I kind of felt like I wasn't the only one who had IBS, and I wasn't the only one who also had anxiety, and that, I was normal, goddammit, because sometimes you get so caught up in the moment, especially I do when I'm having an anxiety attack, that I forget that this definitely happens to other people, and it probably happens to people on a worse or a lesser scale. And I know that my anxiety attacks probably aren't the worst, but to me, when I'm in them in that moment, they're horrendous. I remember this horrendous time where I definitely, now looking back at it, had an anxiety attack. I was on the train on the way back from work. I think I'd probably been out in the evening because I was a bit later than normal. I probably had a couple of drinks, maybe some dinner. Something hadn't gone right. My stomach had flared up, and my train journey from Waterloo to where I live is a good hour or so, and on my train there are no toilets, as I said earlier, so the fact that I urgently needed to go, was just horrendous. I remember the train was empty. I was sobbing my heart out. I was kind of in an uncontrollable state of immense panic and desperation, because I knew that I really needed to get to a loo quite urgently, or very urgently actually. I remembered I'd unbuttoned my jeans because my stomach was so bloated and so swollen and so kind of painful. And I remember I couldn't get hold of Al, I couldn't get hold of my mum, and then eventually they both came to pick me up from the train station, and luckily we only live, say like a 5-minute drive from the train station, so Al could whiz me home. But looking back on that situation, I was most definitely in the full throes of an anxiety attack. I don't think I knew that. It was just what happens to me when I have a really bad flare-up. Whereas now, I definitely still have them. I had one probably last week, again, where I'd eaten something, it had upset my stomach. I could feel kind of the fear, the panic start to rise. It was beating, my head was like kind of pulsating, but I managed to get myself into a situation where I could manage it. I did my deep breathing, which I will harp on about all of the time. I think it's box breathing, 4 in, hold for 4, 4 out, hold for 4, and I continue that until my heartbeat slows back down to a regular pace. Then I'll go outside, calm down, chill, because I find that the fresh air really helps kind of clear my mind, regulate my body temperature, because I'm normally a clammy mess at this point, and that kind of seems to work and to help. For me, I don't think I've got a full-on grip of it, which obviously makes me worry because I'm a worrier, but I do know now what it is, and I kind of know the steps that I need to take to make it better for me, which makes me feel kind of proud of myself, the fact that I if I'm in that situation, I know what to do now, and I know how to get myself out of it. And I know that my mum or our, whoever's at the other end of the line, and that they'll kind of talk me through it. They'll tell me to, you know, chill, like, you know what this is, you've got it, you've done this before, like, come on. And I think that's what I need, because I tend to get caught up in the situation and I'm unable to kind of get myself back out of it. You know, having anxiety, having IBS, being a worrier by nature, that, you know, there's quite a lot of times in my life where things are racing around through my head, never ending, like a constant, not voices, but constant things going around. And I slowly but surely learning how to manage them, and kind of mindfulness is key. I've spoken about that before, and yoga, and kind of any of those, I guess, holistic experiences that kind of help put me at ease, relax, and help me really just get my shit together, pun intended. What I've found most surprising is when I've taken the time to talk to somebody about anxiety, kind of mental health, and well-being, and kind of anything of that nature. Actually, everyone's got quite a lot to say because they've probably never been asked before, and I'm so into talking about it now. I'm kind of making everyone more aware of, I guess, for me, the side effects and the kind of the things and the struggles that come with having IBS. And I remember, I think it was at Christmas or one family event when we were all together, I kind of put it out there and I said, you know what, I've been having really bad anxiety attacks, like, and it's been really getting to me and really getting me down, because I didn't know that that's what I had before, just thought that was normal, that's what happened when you have IBS. And then actually, I think it was my cousin or someone else in the room was like, yeah, do you know I had this before at this stage in my life, or this is how I dealt with mine, or did you know that I also suffer and this is what I do? And I think it's kind of amazing, because I would kind of class myself as quite a strong person. I'm quite good at coping with things, and for me anxiety kind of felt like a weakness, but I now know that it's not, and I feel like I am in control of it, and when I suffer from an attack I know the steps that I need to take to get me back to where I want to be, and by talking about it and by raising awareness, I'm hoping that it will help other people know that it's okay, it's totally fine. We all have good days and we all have bad days, and you know, you never know when your symptoms are going to flare up, but ultimately with IBS you can't let it rule your life, because it totally can, and it can totally dominate every situation that you're in. And I definitely have to keep reminding myself that when it all gets too much, just take a step back, take some time out, and really just kind of look after yourself. And that is my story about anxiety, IBS and me. Thank you all so much for watching, as always. Thank you for your lovely comments, tweets, and just all of the kind of the positive virtual online hugs I've been receiving from you all when I share stories about my IBS and my journey to health. As always, if you've got any tips or tricks, or you yourself have IBS or anxiety and you want to talk some more, please tweet me at Jo's Clothes. Leave a comment below with any questions, and definitely, if there's one thing you do today, go and join the Gut Health Empire group on Facebook. It's run by my new IBS bestie Sam, who is definitely someone who I admire massively, and the group is just a really good way of talking with other people who have similar problems to you about your symptoms, your side effects, how you deal with things. And it's a really positive community where you're definitely not the only one with IBS, so go join that today. Thank you all so much for watching, as always, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.